सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Welcome everyone to another session of weekly group meditation. Can someone confirm if they can see and hear me fine? Okay, looks like everything is good. So let's start with our practice. Make yourself comfortable. If you are sitting on floor, make sure you are cross-legged. Keep your spine erect. Hands on the thighs, palms facing upward. If you are seated on chair, scoop yourself to the front edge of the chair. Make sure your back is unsupported and straight, relaxed. Your feet are flat on the ground. Make sure you are not wearing any slippers, shoes. Let your feet make contact with the ground. Find your comfortable position. Back straight, yet relaxed. If you wear specs, you can remove them. Slowly close your eyes. Let's start with a couple of deep breaths. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, relax. Take another deep breath in, and as you exhale, relax even more. Take a final deep breath. And as you exhale, relax completely into this one. Allow your breath to flow naturally. Simply observe the natural flow of breath without trying to change anything about it. Keep observing the natural flow of your breath. If you find yourself lost in thoughts, simply come back to observing the natural flow of your breath.
ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Rub your palm against each other, generate some warmth. Cup your eyes with your palm and slowly open your eyes. Okay. So, in the last session, we were looking at some questions which I have received from different means through DM or email or other channels. And we saw two of those questions. We have another whole lot of such questions, but let's take another two from the list and we'll see what those questions are and what could be okay. So this one says, what actually happens to the soul after death? Well, how would I know? I am not dead yet. And if I were dead, how would I give you answer to that question? Something everyone has to find by themselves. But we can still talk about how people have thought of what might happen after death to the soul. And to understand this, let's also understand a little bit of history of how the thought developed in India. So a little bit of history recap. So in the beginning, when India was surrounded by water, Indian subcontinent, not just India, Indian subcontinent was basically a subcontinent that means it was on its own, no connection to other parts of the world. And then at some point the plates drifted and it collided with Asian continent
what it would be. I don't know what it was called at that time. And then the Himalayan region, the mountains were formed. But during all this time, this civilization was essentially separated from other civilizations. If there were any other civilization around, we didn't know, because it was essentially completely separated. People did not have ways for long travel across the sea. So while it was floating as its own, no external contact was there. And even after, when it got merged into a bigger landmass and the Himalaya region was formed, still for a very long time people had no ways to cross those mountain ranges. Those mountain ranges are huge, and if you don't know, it's the highest mountain peak also resides in that same range of the world. So for a very long time, this civilization was completely unknown to other parts of the world and completely isolated, which gave it a lot of advantage in terms of how undisturbed it can flourish in its own ecosystem. And India, or Indian subcontinent, had everything. When I say, it means all kinds of weather. In other parts of the world, even today, you see somewhere some parts are very hot, some parts are very cold, and some parts might even have 1, 2, or maximum 3 seasons. But India still has 6 seasons. And if you travel across India, you will get the taste of everything. You will have snow-capped areas. You will have regions where it rains continuously throughout the year. You will have regions where it is completely desert, doesn't rain even once in a year. You will have all kind of things. You have volcanoes, you have rivers, whatnot. So whatever could be, whatever this earth could give to humanity to survive, it could give everything through Indian land, Indian subcontinent. It had all of it. Yeah, then that advantage was like a massive edge. And Indian civilization grew, and it came to a point where it had no longer worry about survival. And when you don't have to worry about survival, you start thinking. You start thinking about why. Initially you start thinking with how to survive, and then you start thinking why to survive. What is the purpose? And that led to great philosophical thoughts emerging in India. So how it all began is with some people, just like you can say scientists of that era, who did not probably had a agreed way of how science should be developed, but they had their own ideas of how to find out things, how to research, how to reason, how to unravel the mysteries that they see around themselves. And what happened after that is they are today called as mantra drishta. We call them mantra drishta. Mantra drishta means somebody who can see mantras. Now mantras today has taken completely different understanding of it's a, when you say mantra in today's world, it means just some kind of affirmation, a sentence which means something positive probably, and that you repeat it, and that's called mantra. So repetition part is correct, because traditional mantras are also repeated, and that's might be the reason why affirmations which you need to repeat are also called mantra, which is fine. But the meaning of mantra was different. The meaning of mantra was the sound that protects the mind is meaning of mantra. You can say a similar thing about affirmations also, because affirmations help your mind stay in a certain way, because you recall it, you remind yourself again and again about something. So it kind of protects your mind from, going in unwanted directions. So still that meaning also holds. But how mantra drishtas view mantras, how these people who could see mantra made it. So how it happens is, when you see the reality, I mean not you, but mantra drishta, the very first scientists, you can say, seers, we also call them seers because they have the ability to see. So the first line of seers, they saw the existence and they tried to devise a way to communicate what they saw, because not everybody sees the same thing. Even when you look at 10 people look at the same thing, they all look at different aspect of that thing. Nobody sees the actual thing, they see what they think it is, right? So these people wanted to be very precise on what they are seeing and they wanted to communicate it. So they came up with sounds which may or may not even have meaning, but sound has a mechanical property of vibration, right? So with vibration, you can actually make changes to the physical matter. And that's what they aimed for. They aimed for sounds which could give rise to that state of material existence, and then bundled those sounds together to form what we call mantra. So when you chant a mantra in a specific way, it creates exact same vibration which brings forth the same reality that the first person who saw mantra had seen. This is the whole picture of what mantra is from that period. I don't know if that makes any sense. Does it make any sense, guys in chat? Do you understand what I was trying to explain here? So, right. So mantras, if there is existence, if there is a particular configuration of matter, that particular configuration of matter has come forth because of certain you can say certain action of energy on it in a certain way, and that energy could be generated with sound in a very subtle way, not in the same amounts that require mountains to be raised, right? But you can have the same qualitative energy, and that energy codified in sound, strung together, becomes mantra. This is what they did. They saw reality, they codified it in sounds, in a string of sounds. That is what mantra is. And then there was no way to write things, right? So they kept teaching it orally to the next generation, to the next generation, to the next generation. And at some point, these all were written. When these sounds or these mantras were written, that whole thing is today known as Vedas. And even in Vedas, if you see the first portion of Veda, which is called Samhita, is what is the collection of those sounds. So if you go to a traditional Hindu, when you talk about mantra, they will always, when they are talking about mantra, it will always be from Samhita section of Vedas. They will not consider mantra anything else as mantra, right? Because they have a completely different meaning of mantra, which I just explained. So that is what Vedas is. But why the word Veda was used for those collections? The reason is the word Veda itself means knowledge. So in Sanskrit, the word root Vid is what refers to knowledge. So there are so many words. Vedas is just the collection of those, collection of knowledge is what Vedas is, right? And then there are other words also starting with the same root, like Vidwan. Vidwan is somebody who has knowledge, wise, right? Then there is Vidyalaya. Vidyalaya is a place where you can go and get knowledge. That is school or university. So every word has Vid. So it's the same root was used to create the word Veda, to know, collection of knowledge. So that then expanded in the sense, it started with the collection of those mantras, but then as it became more accessible, people started, having more conversations about it. It expanded, it became Vedas, then Brahmanas, which is more like, there are two ways to write, right? One is poetry and another is story, right? So more a story format writings were emerged, and then Aranyak and then Upanishad. So it is a vast set of scriptures. If I just talk about the last portion of Vedas, Upanishads, they themselves are more than 118 numbers. 108 is still with us, that survived through the time, and then there were many which were lost. So it's a huge collection of knowledge, is what we call. And then by that time, India had also developed ways to go out to the world, So people used to go out for trade. And there were certain rules, like only these people can go out for trade, and when they come back from a foreign land after trade, you have to do certain things and be in a certain way, all of that stuff, so that the thought that you bring from outside do not mingle with the thought that you have within. So all of those. And obviously, when you have something and you go out to share and trade, then you always sell it on some kind of premium, because you are the only supplier of that thing, right? But after some time, other people across the world also developed ways to travel across sea. And then many more traders from other parts of the world started coming into India. And that's when those rules were obliterated. Now, earlier also, for a long period of time, Indian people had contact with other people, but still the ecosystem was kind of closely guarded and maintained. But now when people started coming into India, things started to change. Now this one set of knowledge that we had, Vedas, were being challenged by people who did not live on those principles, and they thought these don't hold any value. Because earlier people used to live by those principles and they didn't ever face any issue, so they never had this idea of challenging something which works. But people who did not follow those principles, for them it was a foreign thing, and when you are asked to change, you always question. So these people started questioning, and that's when the Indian culture further expanded. So people who followed Vedas, or who thought, okay, Vedas are nice, they make sense, who understood that it's sensible, those internally were also differing on certain aspects, not aspects which were written in Vedas, but extension of those. Like if something is written and you think about it and you come up with certain idea that is not clearly mentioned in Vedas, but you think this is the interpretation and somebody else thinks something else is the interpretation. They both agree that the thing is true, but maybe the interpretation is this or that. So in this way, people who followed Vedas also had opinions different, which differ from each other, and those, now we know those were like 6 different kinds of opinions on what the Vedas mean, and these people were called. This is appropriate channel to meditate. Yes, we just had our weekly group meditation together, and but this is more reserved for events where we have like a planned meditative session. If you want to meditate ad hoc, then you can go to group meditation voice channel or meditate with me voice channel, and there are 3 of those. So okay, so where were we? Right, so evolution of thought in India. So people who followed Vedas also had opinions about the interpretation of it, and now we know that there are 6 different such opinions, which we call as Sankhya, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Vedant, Purva Mimamsa, and Yoga. These are the people who follow, understand, who basically accept the authority that Vedas is fine, but might be the interpretation might be this, not this, this way, this kind of differences. And Vedas allow this kind of debate, because if you read Vedas, it starts with those codified mantras, but as it grows, by the time it reaches to the end where Upanishads are, it is full of cross questioning. One person asking question to another, and another person trying to clear the doubts, and sometimes the person is satisfied, sometimes the person who is not satisfied is able to convince the other person, and they change their ways of thinking. So Vedas allow this kind of culture where you can cross question and you can basically have an opinion, ask for reasons, and if you are not convinced, reject something. So that is why all of these 6 groups which agree to Vedas can have differences in opinion and still coexist. But then another set of people started arriving into India and they completely rejected Vedas. Then there is another interesting group which we call Charvak. So those were pure materialistic people. Their belief is that what you see is what there is. What you don't see, nothing of that sort exists. Those are called Charvaks, pure materialists. So they reject Vedas. So that is one another way, and that is also allowed in Vedas. Vedas never say that you must accept everything in Vedas, and so that also is very fine with people in India. That was also fine. So now coming back to the question, what happens to the soul after the death? Now, if you think from the perspective of Charvakas, who think pure materialism, then nothing happens after death. You die, it's all done. Gone. There is nothing to discuss from their perspective, right? Then from the Vedic perspective, I am not going into the details of what those 6 different opinions are, but if you collectively take them, we call it Astic philosophy, the one who believes in Vedas. As per them, it is said that the soul is eternal, which is the real essence of who you are, and that lives across death And just like a body sheds old clothes and wears new one, similarly, jiva, which is basically the soul with your mind stuff and subtle body, takes new body, new gross body. During the death, only the gross body dies, and the jiva, which is combination of the soul and your mind stuff, along with your samskaras and everything, based on what kind of samskara it has, it takes another form of body, which either goes to the higher worlds and enjoys the benefits of it for a limited period of time, or goes to the lower worlds, gets punished there, and for a limited period of time, not for eternity, right? And then because of the samskaras or the imprints, again are forced back to human birth. And so there is some gap between one human birth to another human birth where you can be in different realms. But that's what is the cycle that goes on until you finish all of your karmic impressions and eventually never take rebirth, right? So the jiva completely is dissolved and Atman only remains, and Atman doesn't require birth if it is not confined in the form of a jiva. If the mind stuff or the samskaras are completely cleaned off, then it doesn't require a new birth. Then there are other philosophies also. In India itself, there was Buddhism, which emerged in India, who also disagreed with Veda, so does not come under Astic philosophy. Inside, they are counted along with Charvakas in Nastic philosophy, but they do believe in reincarnation, but they don't believe in soul. So as per them, what reincarnates is a continuum of consciousness. It's not one entity which persists through death and birth, but when you have certain imprints on you, karmic imprints, that creates a momentum which gives rise to another life. But when you are completely devoid of karmic impressions, that does not have enough momentum to put you into a next life. So as per them, the analogy is when you light one candle with another candle. So the flame, a new flame is generated, but it does not mean that this old flame and this new flame is same. So there is rebirth, but there is not, these two are not one. There is not something which is continuous and flown from here to here. This is just, this new flame is just, what should I say? It's just a consequence of the old flame. If there were no old flame, there would not be a new flame. But this old flame and new flame are not one. It's not the same thing. So this is how they explain reincarnation. Continuum of consciousness which gets the new life because of the momentum created by karmic impressions. So once you clear of all the karmic impressions, then there is no momentum and you don't have a next life. So, and then there is another sect also, which is called Jainism. That also was born in India. So they have a little bit different concept. They still think that there is a eternal soul which never dies, but they don't think of karmic impressions as mind stuff. They don't think of karmic impression as mind stuff. In fact, they think of karmic impressions as something physical, something material, like a cosmic dust. And as per their philosophy is, when you do good deeds, you get lighter cosmic dust and you float. Your soul becomes lighter. I mean, you can think of it physically also, but that is up for debate of what they mean by lightness of soul. But when you do bad deeds, then this heavy cosmic dust attaches to the soul, which pulls it down. So their goal is to do good deeds and make their soul lighter enough to finally reach the apex universe. So they have their own structure of how the universe is laid out. So this is not a pre-recorded session. So this is what different people perceive of what happens to the soul. Materialistic, Indian ancient thought, and other thoughts that originated in India. I tried to explain from different perspectives. But having said all of this, does it even matter? It's good to know. It's amusing for the mind to know the history of how all of this happened and all of that. But does it even matter? And I think it doesn't. It doesn't really matter until you become a philosopher. So there are two kinds of people. One who can see the next step and walk, right? For them, they don't need to see the whole picture. They just see the first step, next step. If the next step is visible to them, if they know what to do next, if they are confident about it, they don't need to know the whole picture. They just walk. But there are other kinds of people also who fall into the philosopher category, who do not take even a single step until the whole picture is clear to them. So maybe for those kind of people, all of this is essential to see why ethics is important, why to live in a certain way. If they can close the loop, then they have more confidence on their reasoning and then they can move forward. So for those people, it is fine. But for most people, if you are not a philosopher category, because not everyone is a philosopher, just do what needs to be done today. Do some kind of self-reflection as to how it makes you feel, and that should be enough feedback of which direction you should be moving in, right? So just that was all of that was just to answer the question, but essentially there are many ways you can progress without even knowing any of this. So that was too much on one question. Maybe we will have to see the next question in the next session. But is there anything from the audience that they want to discuss before we close? Let me read through I read Raj Yoga by Swamiji. Have a good day, sir. I will meditate with my friend in voice channel. I have heard Advaita Vedanta concept is relevant with physics principle. Is it true? Right. Advaita Vedanta concept is relevant with quantum physics principle. Is it true? This is also interpretation, because the terminologies were never same. When Advaita Vedanta developed, at that time, people thought of something and they described it in their own words, which they could think of is most appropriate for describing their experiences. But now we have newer understanding and we try to correlate everything. This is the quality of our mind. It always tries to get new knowledge to connect with what it already knows. And that's how we remember anything. So this correlation, is formed in the mind. But obviously, people who developed Advaita Vedanta had no idea of what quantum physics, what quantum is or what physics is, right? So they had no idea. And even people who are working in quantum physics, probably, even after reading all the text, may have no idea what Advaita Vedanta people are talking about. So this is just correlation that is happening in the mind. Fine, it helps us understand and it helps us assimilate two different sources of knowledge and amalgamate it into something that we can make sense of, and it is fine. But most of it is always expressed in a way that, yeah, and this is one important thing that you have to understand about Indian culture is not very rigid about what it says ever. Even in Vedas, you will find a lot of contradictions, which is not a flaw, which is by design. It gives freedom of thought. So when something is not rigid, it always survives because it can flexibly mold into the new concept. And that is what is happening when you say Advaita Vedanta is like relevant because of the flexibility of those ideas. So it's nothing more than that. It's just the flexibility of thought that allows it to survive. But if you ask me truly, I don't think either of these people understand what the other people said. They are just trying to make sense of what the other guy had said, right? Just like what I am doing right now. When I say something, you don't really know what I am trying to say. What you are hearing, you are trying to make sense of it based on your own understanding. There is no way really that I can transmit exactly what I want on what I experience to you, right? So there will always be this thing going on. Are there acupressure points for this? For what? I don't understand this question. Let's meditate in voice channel. All right, have a great learning, guys. Okay, Sumit bhai, some good acupressure points which actually work. Okay, fine. So let me check once on these two channels. Right. Okay, so I think we have already run much beyond time. Thank you everyone for joining, and I hope to see you all in the next session. Let's close this. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.